get it. Sangha. Oh, go Sangha. 2, 1. People of the world, hello and welcome to Marketing as a Foreign Language. My name's Keeleen Kootsman. Keeleen Kootsman. It's like Ellen with a K. That's Kellen. You know, I don't believe in coincidences. I don't. I know that's a throwaway line. I'm aware of that fact. Everyone keeps running around like, oh, that's coincidence. No, seriously. I seriously don't. Which is to say that the thing that's happening to me right now, the suffering that I'm going through, I don't think it's coincidence. I don't think that any of this stuff is coincidence. I see order in the universe. And it is not much of a stretch then to understand that the people in my life that I have the pleasure of meeting and knowing are there for a very specific, excellent, fantastic, and ordered reason. I was reading about our guest today, Purdeep's company, his bio, and it's all about, you know, becoming the complete man. There's some spirituality components. And as I was reading it, I was thinking like, I was kind of on the fence with it, you know, but I know that the universe is always going to question my assumptions. It's always going to take whatever I think, whatever little judgments creep into my head, and it's going to say you're stupid and you're ignorant. And let me show you the 1,000 reasons why you're stupid and ignorant. And that's not to say I'm not a smart guy. I'm just saying human intelligence, right, is only so much. It's just so much, right? We're gonna make all kinds of mistakes that lead us towards this kind of perfect path. Anyway, point being, the conversation I had with Purdeep backstage was exactly the conversation I wanted to have, which is he's a loving father, husband. He's got a young daughter, 7 and 5, boy, girl. And, you know, going in and cuddling with your daughter as a father, I cannot put it into words just how the overwhelming waves of love, if you are, you know, whoever you are, maybe you're a dad, maybe you got a kid that age and you understand this sort of stuff, whatever. But I mean, man, it's surreal. It is surreal, the connection we can have with other human beings. So me and Purdeep talked about that. We talked about Sikhism, which I would have pronounced Sikhism 10 minutes ago, but now I understand from Purdeep that is the correct way to pronounce it. There is a holy book in that religion that I'm not even going to try to pronounce that we're going to talk about. Purdeep's background, his history is incredible. I want to say his grandfather was a spiritual teacher. I mean, there is a lot of juice. And this conversation is going to be a good one. I absolutely know it. Ladies and gentlemen, by no coincidence, by no chaotic unfolding of the universe, do we have our guest today. Welcome to the show, Purdeep.
Hey, thanks for having me on. You got a pretty good memory there. I'm impressed.
I am impressed by you, but I do need to pronounce your name correctly because it is a sin beyond sin to get people's names wrong. Please pronounce your name.
It's Purdeep Sangha. So it's just as it's spelled except for the H in my last name.
Sangha. Mr. Sangha, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Obviously, we've got a lot to cover. Why don't we start with, you know what? We usually start with the pitch. They're going to have to wait. You're going to have to wait, audience, for the pitch. You're going to have to dive through it. Do you want to start with your grandfather? Because I was inspired by that story. I really liked that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that comes hand in hand with basically my family story in terms of immigrating over to Canada back in the early 70s. My dad immigrated over. My mom was actually here before, but my parents literally came here with $11 in their pocket. And all they knew how to do was work hard. So after my dad worked his butt off, my mom worked their butts off. My dad was sending money back to India for his family. So his parents there and his siblings, my grandfather and my grandmother, so my dad's parents, eventually immigrated over and lived with us. So my mom's parents had passed long before. Actually, her dad did. Her mom actually passed 3 days after my parents got married, which is, it's a tough thing for my mom to talk about, especially obviously. Yeah, when you're supposed to have a wonderful, especially for women, that one day is what they look forward to for their entire lives, and then 3 days after your mom passes away, it's obviously a tough one.
Okay, time. and time. It's so much information. It's so much information. I know that when we tell our life stories, because we've done it so many times, and because it is just like a foreign language. Okay, like I literally have to like burp, 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 like a baby try to understand what's happening. Okay, so teach me. Okay, so immigrating to Canada. Okay, I got that. And then your mother's parents passed away a couple days after she was married.
So my mom's dad passed away when she was young, but her mom passed away from at that time it was a uterine cancer 3 days after. Yep, she got married.
So let's talk about that for a second, shall we?
Mhm.
So my dad died when I was 2. So her dad also died young. God knows. Do you know how old she was?
Yeah, she was about 7, I believe.
Bro,
Yeah.
if I died, the karmic wave that lasts a lifetime, mind you. Like my dad is still a part of my life. Never had a conversation with the dude.
Mhm.
So the karmic wave of that is just multi-generational. I talked to my daughter about her grandma Peggy and grandpa Tony, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you about Grandpa Tony. You know, I have very little. And she's like, I feel so bad for you. Like those karmic waves are just multi-dimensional. Okay, so your mom's father passes when she's 7. Your mom's mom, and this is the point I am desperately trying to make, holds on.
Mhm.
Cancer-ridden to see her daughter get married.
Yep.
If that doesn't make you cry, I don't know what's gonna. Come on, man. Seriously, think about the power. That's all you need to know on the power of the spirit. You can talk about, oh, this cancer treatment and this, you know what I mean? That's fine. We can have a medical conversation, but the timing of that, just let that sink in.
Yeah.
Choosing to live.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing because my wife actually works with cancer patients. She works in the oncology ward. She heads up their what they call a transition clinic, and she sees this all the time. And one of the biggest things that she talks about when people are at that stage, when they know they're no longer going to be around, is their last wish is, I hope I'm around, or I want to make it for my daughter's wedding, or my son's wedding, or my grandkid's birth, whatever it is. But that is like their stretch goal, is to hang on for that special moment.
Incredible. I mean, it's incredible. So tell me then the difference, able-bodied, healthy person listening to this. Tell me the difference between someone in a cancer ward. Look, I think the soul is eternal. Call me crazy, right? I think the consciousness is permanent. There is no such thing as nothingness. It's a figment of our imagination. And then because you're literally thinking about it within a material body, it makes no sense that there would be nothing after death. So I think that it's just a transition, right? Like this is like a grade, and then we go on to another grade. We just move on, whatever. Anyway, so it's obviously the most dramatic thing that happens to us in our lifetime. So if a cancer patient can find the magic to stay alive for a certain event, then why can't you, person listen to this, manifest whatever thing you want to do? Same energy, isn't it? Like if you really want it that bad, do you see what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? So let's talk about that. So, I mean, do you think that if someone wants it to the degree that a cancer patient wants to see the birth of their grandson, it's all encompassing, it's overwhelming, that they can not always, but get a heck of a lot closer to that goal, whatever it is?
Oh, absolutely. Because I think you just talked about it. It's that one word. It's having that goal. And this comes in because there's you can say philosophies that talk about having goals and the importance of it, and philosophies that say, you know what, you should just go with life and just kind of every day is a new day. But goals are important because it sets your intentions. And I'm a big, you can say my background's also in neuroscience, and they've shown a lot of stuff when it comes to, or research when it comes to, you can say, placebo effects. And when patients have a goal of doing something, they get way better results because of one particular thing: expectation. So if you set a goal and you expect to get to that goal, whether it's someone's wedding, whether it's someone's birth, or setting a goal to achieve a certain level in your business, or whatever that might be, if you have that expectation, you're a lot more likely to achieve it, to the point that your brain, let's just talk about your brain and your body, right? Because we're talking about an embodied experience. Your brain actually changes, and they've shown this. Your brain will actually change based on your expectations. So I think absolutely, people that need to set effective goals, people that actually work towards their goals and expect that they're going to get there and believe in it 100% wholly. I shouldn't say that, because it's never 100%. It could be 99.9% or 99%. But just having more belief than not having enough belief is important.
Yeah, to me, there's a difference linguistically between a goal and an expectation. And if I am a soccer player and the goal is, oh, I don't know, the goal, and I'm shooting at it, that's one thing, right? Like, I'm shooting at the goal, I'm trying to make it in, like I'm trying to make a goal, right? And then expecting to say, make 3 points, to score 3 goals. Like, my expectation is I'm going to score 3 goals. That to me is stronger. And so I learned that just listening to you right now, is maybe for me personally, thinking of them as expectations as opposed to goals.
Yeah, and I think the big thing there is expecting that you're going to reach your goal, whatever you set. That's the main thing. So expectations, again, fundamentally is where the magic really comes in. That's where the energy comes in. That's where the energy flows. It's where where your focus is, where your attention is, but also where your expectations are. I see this a lot with a lot of people. They have great goals, but they don't expect that they're going to achieve them. And if you don't expect that, that energy isn't going to flow that way, and you're not going to make decisions that are aligned with those expectations or goals, you can say. So
Right.
it all comes together.
A yearly list of expectations. These are my expectations. I love it. I'm for it. I vote yes. Can I get a second?
I'll give you a second.
The motion passes. All right. So you are a human being incarnated on planet Earth. Your parents and grandparents obviously immigrated. We got the Canada. We got your mom's mom dying. Your mom's dad dying. Your mom's mom living to the point where she saw her marry and then she passes. Your mom has to deal with the karmic unfolding of all of that. You are unborn at this time.
Yep.
Okay, you're unborn. Let's remember that when we incarnate on this planet, we are required to take the forgetting pill, right? So you can't come to Earth. You're not allowed to come to Earth and remember anything really. You can talk about past lives, stuff like that. Some people, whatever. It's basically 100% effective. Like, you just whatever. So you're still doing whatever you are in the spirit realm, and then boom, you incarnate. How much longer after the wedding? How much time has elapsed?
Oh, maybe 2 years, I think.
Okay, so
Yeah,
she processes her parents' death. It's a forever thing, right? During those 2 years, and then boom, you're here. Where are you when this occurs?
So this is I was born in a small town in British Columbia, Canada. It's called Kelowna, BC, and it's the equivalent, you could say, of the Napa Valley for the U.S. It's an orchard town with tons of vineyards. Actually, interesting enough, part of our history is being in an orchard. But we have an orchard now. That's part of our family business, and that's how my parents started off. They started working on an orchard because it was really labor intensive. It didn't require a lot of skill. My mom's brother was here a few years before and started working in an orchard himself. So they just kind of said, okay, my parents said, we'll start working in an orchard. And that's basically how I was born and raised. I remember from my earliest memories were being on an orchard, and my parents, before, let's just say it, sometimes they couldn't afford daycare or didn't have someone take care of us. They would put us in an apple bin, my brother and I, and while they would be picking apples. So it was honestly, it was probably the best upbringing a kid could ever have, because we had our family around all the time. Parents, our uncles and aunts also worked on the same orchard, and I was running around in nature all the time. So, yeah, it was hard physical work. My first, you can say, paying job was at 9 years old on an orchard, and so I started working very young, and we were doing long days, sometimes working 7 days a week. And that's how I grew up until I was a young adult. But it was awesome because it's a very mindful environment, right? We talk about the blooms, the cherry blooms, and the perfect moment, for example, of when the cherry blooms are out. That's how I lived. And so I would go out literally for hours, sometimes the entire day, and just be by myself in the orchard with trees, nature, birds. It was probably, again, it was amazing because right, in the Western world, we talk about the concept of mindfulness, and how that's been used today. I grew up with that. Almost every single day, and it's part of the reason you can say why I do the work that I do, because I see the difference of being in a mindful environment versus being in a chaotic environment. And there is a very big difference. And I would say a big element to where I am today in terms of my achievements have been as a result of that. The learnings that I've had, because when you're by yourself in an orchard for 10 hours a day, sometimes 12 hours a day with nobody else around, you get very accustomed to your own thoughts. You get very in tune with who you are as a person, and you figure things out because you're not sidetracked by other things. But just a simple, one of my most favorite moments was just actually walking through the orchard and actually looking at the trees and just looking and seeing if branches have changed, where the blooms are at, if the fruit started to bud. And it was just, most people be like, that's just crazy. Like, why would you? It's like when you see people with their bonsai trees and the art that they do there's just something magical about it. And I've planted literally tens and tens of thousands of trees in my lifetime. Just watching those trees grow was absolutely amazing. So that is a big part of my upbringing in my childhood, from that part. I don't know if you have any questions, but it was just a different lifestyle than a lot of kids live these days. And I can say that I'm a farm boy at heart. And then that's, yeah. And that's
a complete thought. Okay. That is a complete thought. Okay. So Maynard James Keenan is the lead singer of a band called Tool and A Perfect Circle and one other. And he transitioned from rock god, multi-millionaire, everything you could possibly ever want, to grape grower, to wine producer. And he talks about the pace of wine. Oh, funny. What's up, Anime Steel? Good to see you. He talks about the pace of exactly what you're talking about, which is you don't have a choice but to slow down to the speed at which these things are occurring in that environment. And if I would dare to recommend something, I would say that there was a quote in there about my favorite moment that you said. I would lead with that. Public speaking, all of my outward marketing. If I were you, if I just woke up in your body tomorrow, I would lead with that because it begs so many questions. What do you mean? My favorite moment as a child was out in the orchard watching these trees grow. Huh? Who's this dude?
Yeah.
Why is he? Huh? And then, oh, by the way, we're talking about you're the tree, idiot. You're the tree. Ram Dass, who was Richard Alpert, who was a Harvard professor who took LSD with Timothy Leary in the early days of psychedelics, still alive. Becoming Nobody is an incredible documentary worth watching. You can watch it on YouTube. It's $3.99. It's very, very good. Refers to how when we look at people and we look at the scars, the this, the problem, the that, the personality, the ego, everything about this person, and we lost Purdeep on video, but we'll see if he signs back in. continue that thought, hello, Purdeep, he's back.
Yep.
When we look at all of those things of those people that out, from the ego to the personality, everything, we don't love it like we love a tree. We look at a knot in a tree and we go, oh, it's beautiful. It's just part of the process of that tree becoming the tree that it is. And we look at the rough edges of a human and we say, you should fix that. And we even do this to trees. I think landscaping is, this is going to make me sound like a crazy person. Okay. Sorry for being crazy. Okay. I apologize for not fitting the cultural mode. I think landscaping trees is the dumbest thing. Why are we messing with them, man? If the branch is dead, fine. But the fact that we like trim live branches off of trees for aesthetic reasons, to me, is almost like the whole crux of the human condition of like 2021. We think that we can do better. We think that, no, if I chop off that limb, I'm talking about the dead ones. Maybe I just don't understand pruning. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm just ignorant and stupid, but I feel like there's something there where we think that our imposing our will on nature is just, it's better. Of course it's better because we know better. So I think if I had to boil down what you do for people is to help them with that same love and slow progress, just like the trees when you were a kid in the orchard, like helping people grow into something where they bear more fruit.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, because there's a lot in that. Because a tree is a perfect example, because a tree is a system of roots, and what you see underneath the ground, which is the core of who we are as individuals. And that's where I talk about the complete man is at that core level, is within the internal aspects of who we are as people. And then we can have everything else that we want that's above ground, right? And that's the branches, that's the money, that's the fancy cars, the beautiful home, whatever it is that you want out there. That's as a result of who you are at the core and the roots that you have. The stronger roots you have, the bigger your branches, the stronger they are, the more fruit you'll produce. And it's really interesting because I talk to people about this, because I'm an orchardist, right? We grow apples and cherries, and you can just simply change. You can have two trees that produce the same fruit, but it's interesting. You can actually change what we call the rootstock, and they will grow completely different. Even though you give them the exact amount of water, the exact amount of sun, for example, they will grow differently. A bigger rootstock will grow a bigger tree. A small rootstock will grow a smaller tree. So that core, that root, is just like how we are as people. The stronger you are internally, the easier it is to accomplish and use that energy. We're going to talk about energy to accomplish what you want in your external world. So absolutely. And you also talked about the knots. Well, interesting enough, the knots are it's the strongest part of the tree, right? You try to chainsaw through a knot, you better be careful, because, it kicks back at you at times. So those things are there. And that's just like in life for people. It's that old saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's absolutely true. If you learn from it, if you grow from it, just like trees do, they will grow around. If you cut off a limb, for example, they will grow and they will heal itself. Or in terms of where that that tree was cut, we as humans are very similar. We need to heal and then grow over that, and we get stronger as a result. So I think that's why a lot of philosophical approaches use the analogy of the tree, because it does represent us as people, for sure. And I like what you said, because cosmetics, when it comes to, we are just a cosmetic society in so many different ways. A lot of it, and I have these conversations with my wife quite a bit, a lot of it is very surface level stuff. And coming from an orchard where, it didn't matter what clothes we wore, we just did hard work, for example, and you come to terms with who you are as a person, as an individual, your values, what value you bring to life. It's really interesting. If you take a look at what Rumi said, for example, and a very interesting quote or saying, and I'm going to paraphrase it, is you don't have the rights to the fruit. You have the rights to the labor, right? So you don't have the rights to the fruit of your labor. You have the rights to the labor itself. And we realized that growing up on an orchard, we could work 9 months out of the year and work our butts off. And within a 10-minute hailstorm, the entire crop could be wiped out. Literally, I'm not exaggerating. It's wiped out. If you go to Kelowna and you see the cherry trees, for example, and after it rains, people will literally pay literally thousands and tens of thousands of dollars to get helicopters out there to brush the water off the trees because the fruit will get ruined. But it is that, you can say, volatile when it comes to nature. So we, and especially, let's just say if I'm talking about myself and my family, we had to learn to be okay with working 9 months out of the year and not getting anything out of it at the end of the day. It's tough to swallow. It's a tough pill, but that's why we have to enjoy what we enjoy doing. That's why the work, the labor itself should be more enjoyable than the fruits of the labor. Because I see a lot of, if I talk directly about the work that I do, specifically with men, for example, see a lot of people working their butts off for days, months, years, decades, not being able to see the fruits of their labor. My dad was actually one of those individuals. My dad, very loving man. I learned so much from my dad. Amazing human being. Also had his challenges, suffered from alcoholism. His goal was to hit 65 because that was his moment where he was going to tell himself he finally did it. He came to this country with next to nothing, raised a successful family, built a successful business, never struggled with money, had everything he wanted from that standpoint. But there was something inside of him that wasn't fulfilled. And I don't know what it was. And to this day, I still don't know. I never really asked him, and I probably should have, because I never thought he was going to pass away like he did at 64 and a half from a sudden heart attack. Right. And so that milestone that we always have in life, that I would say 99% of people have that milestone. If I get to that point, then I will feel this way. Then I will feel good about myself. May never come. So it's important for us. It's almost critical and vital, I would say, for us to enjoy the work that we do. If I'm going to talk about, people talk about life, enjoying your life. Yeah. But work is a big part of our life. And we need to enjoy that because it makes up half, if not more, of our waking hours.
Okay. And time. Your father passes away when you're how old?
Actually, my dad passed away 2.5 years ago.
So you are definitely still in the thick of it.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that a year, 2 years, fresh. It's fresh. It's fresh. And especially with children, because now you have to have conversations with your kids about their grandpa. Okay. So it's fresh. You relive the death of your parents constantly. And the Obi-Wan Kenobi moment when Luke is about to hop on the Millennium Falcon and Obi-Wan is fighting with Darth Vader, and he looks over to Luke and goes, "Yeah, I'm dying now, bro." And on purpose, really. I'm choosing to exit this, but trust me, I'll be stronger, man. I will. And is, obviously. This is what happens when these people die in our lives. Their spirit just magnifies to this unbelievable, expansive, can't describe it in words level. And then it proceeds to do its work. So gong fu is a Mandarin word that just means hard work, and it's used to describe, obviously, kung fu. But there's also something called gong fu cha, which is kung fu tea, which is what I always have sitting right here. On this tea tray to my right are the characters cha yuan, which means tea destiny, which is not something you would typically hear in English, those two words combined. Lao Tzu is an incredibly well-known father of Taoism teacher in Chinese culture, and he is featured on a piece of art in my favorite tea shop here in Las Vegas, where he is teaching and serving tea. So kung fu is just hard work, and it's often referred to as the bitter work. And so getting that taste in our mouth of the bitterness that is suffering, and understanding that suffering is essential There is a sweetness to the suffering, or a bitterness, I should say, but the bitterness can be delicious. The bitterness can be very good for you. The bitterness is your dad saying, no, you can't have a starburst. It's bitter. It's not sweet. And that sort of suffering carves away at us as we age. I purchased a piece of art from a woman who happens to be a meth addict on a beach in California. And her particular form of art was sitting there getting skin cancer. Like, this woman does not have skin block. Do you understand what I'm saying? Sitting out on the beach day in, day out, literally holding a magnifying glass and a piece of wood from Home Depot and burning a saying into that wood. Excruciatingly slow. There is no such thing as, oh, I messed up a letter. I spelled it wrong. It's perfect. There's all of this like extra stuff on the sides. And she burned this quote into this art that I bought for $10. And it says, at the end of our lives, through pain and suffering, we're just like clay, or we're just like granite, chiseled into the final result that we only get to see at the end of our lives. And this is the nature of reality. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is 11:01. That has been the show, but I want to give Purdeep Sangha the opportunity to tell you how you can contact him to be a selfish capitalist and pitch a little bit about what he's all about. And then I'll do my little pitch about the show. So, Purdeep, tell them where they can reach out to you.
Yeah, so you can reach out to me at pretty much every social media channel. My handle is typically Purdeep Sangha. Feel free to reach out to me. I love hearing from people about just challenges, what's going well in your life, because that's the work that I do. That's my passion in life. So feel free to reach out. You can also contact me by emailing me at team@purdeepsangha.com.
All right. So we only got as far as orchard childhood. You know what I'm saying? So really strong interview. Very happy with it. Absolutely delightful to chat with you. This is what the interviews are like, and we hope to have you back on the show, Purdeep. It's been an absolute pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, you all know. Oh, yeah. You are welcome. And thank you. You all know Marketing as a Foreign Language, 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time live. If you want to ask the guests on the show any questions, please do join us for the live show. You can find that on YouTube. After the fact, iTunes, Spotify, and all the other podcast platforms. You know the drill. Special shout out to Purdeep Sangha today. And we will see you all for the next episode. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Bye for now.